Harrison Graham here, back with video number 3 here on Chicago Bears Now on the Day. Lots to get into, and some rumors, some news items I want to catch you guys up on as the NFL Combine really got rolling today. Most GMs and head coaches around the league talked, and a lot of news stories were revealed because of that, including one Bears free agent target. Trey Smith was a topic at Chiefs general manager Brett Veach's press conference, and he was essentially asked, hey, you going to re-sign Trey Smith? Where are things at with all of that? Take a listen to what he had to say, and we'll react afterward.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously at the top of the list, and we've already had some good dialogue with him and with CAA and Torrey and Jimmy and his crew. So obviously a lot to work through, but I mean, this is the time of the year to do that. And again, we've already had some initial dialogue, and that will continue on this week and in the days to come leading up before free agency. So we'll certainly do what we can and feel, pretty optimistic about our possibilities there.
Obviously, if the Chiefs were able to re-sign him before free agency, that would be a bummer. I wouldn't call it shocking, because I've said all along, players of this caliber don't typically hit free agency, although this has felt like potentially an exception given the Chiefs having other big contracts. And while they can find a way to keep him, that probably means at the expense of someone else. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, you listen to the tone of Veach's voice. I feel like he's cautiously optimistic. I don't think he's sneaking in side smiles or anything like that. Like, yeah, this deal's done. I think there's work to be done there if they're going to lock that thing down. And to me, I don't think anything's changed from what I've said all along. If the Chiefs are willing to make Trey Smith the highest paid guard in the NFL, which would be north of $21 million per year and at least $60 million guaranteed, he'll probably re-sign there, because why wouldn't he? They're chasing Super Bowls every single year, and he gets top dollar and gets his money. But if they aren't willing to make him the highest paid guard in the NFL, if I am representing Trey Smith, I am not signing a contract. I am hitting the open market. So we'll have to wait and see. I still think that would be the case. Now, could he shock us and take a discount even though he was a 6th-round pick and hasn't made that much money in the NFL? I suppose. But if I'm his agent, I'm like, listen, Trey, this is probably your one chance to sign a big contract. You're going to have a lot of suitors. That price tag could get closer to $25 million per year on the open market than $20 million. So I don't think what Veach said today is, the end-all, be-all in terms of there's no chance he hits free agency. But, we shouldn't be surprised that the Chiefs are going to try to re-sign him, because he's a really good player, and especially a player at a position of importance, which, of course, is on the offensive line. So we'll see where this goes. Maybe the odds went from 65% he hits the open market to 50-50 after what Veach said today, but I don't think it's a strong indication on one way or the other. And let's face it, you got to have other plans. You got to have plan B, C, D, F, all that stuff, and you got to trust that Ben Johnson, Ryan Poles, they're all working through those scenarios as we go through this process. What say you? If you had to predict it, will Trey Smith hit NFL free agency? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Give us your predictions down in the comments section below. Speaking of the Bears general manager, we heard from him earlier today. I gave my top 5 takeaways reaction from Ryan Poles' press conference in Indianapolis. Be sure to subscribe. Go to the content tab. If you see that thumbnail, that is where that video is. We also have full footage of Ben Johnson's press conference. I had some quick reaction to that, plus the entire presser in our video right before this one. So if you see that thumbnail, that is the place to be. Subscribe, turn on notifications. We're going to continue to pump out content from the NFL Combine all week long. Okay, Jonah Jackson, could he be a plan B of sorts if Trey Smith does not become available? A veteran guard who spent some time with the Detroit Lions. Things didn't quite work out this year for the Rams. We'll talk about him as a potential option coming up here in just a few moments. But first, I want to tell you guys about today's sponsor. That is Z-Biotics, baby. Check out Z-Biotics right now, especially if you're planning to go out and have a couple of beverages. I know the folks in Indianapolis. I was there last year. It's work hard, play hard time, and I don't drink as much as I used to since I'm older now. But I just went to a batch party, and I divulged a little bit, but I was able to bounce back the next day better than I normally do, thanks to Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol. Pre-Alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to drink this probiotic before drinking alcohol. Drink responsibly and get a good night's sleep to feel your best tomorrow. We all have busy lives these days, so don't waste any more days after a night of drinking. Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol is the answer we've all been looking for. Here's what you got to do. Go to zbiotics.com/chatsports. That's zbiotics.com/chatsports, or scan the QR code on screen right now to get 15% off your first order when you use code ChatSports, all one word, ChatSports. You can also sign up for a subscription using that code ChatSports so you stay prepared no matter the time or occasion. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they will refund your money. No questions asked. That link in the promo code, zbiotics.com/chatsports. Code chatsports for 15% off in the comments and in the description of this video. Okay, let's talk a little Jonah Jackson here. Only started 4 games for the Rams last year. Got banged up, and then he kind of just got phased out for whatever reason. I don't know if it was a bad scheme fit or, they just had other guys play better. That would be a Sean McVay question. They were shuffling O-linemen kind of all season due to injuries and other circumstances. So, sometimes you bring in a player, it just doesn't work for whatever reason. What I do know is before that, he spent 4 seasons with the Lions and started 57 games, primarily at left guard. Got a few snaps at center here and there, which is certainly very interesting, including some snaps at center last year for the Rams when they were thin. So, obviously, when you look at the Bears' offensive line, they could use guard and center. Now, he's primarily been a guard and primarily a left guard. I would not really be in favor of trading for Jonah Jackson. Boom, there's our center, unless Ben Johnson felt really good about it. I think this would be probably your starting left guard. Tevin Jenkins out, Jonah Jackson in. If you trade for Jonah Jackson, his cap hit next year is $9 million. Wouldn't cost you that much whatsoever. I don't think you're probably looking at a day 3 pick. Again, do I want to trade a draft pick for a guard? Probably not. But if it's a late pick and you miss out on Trey Smith, it's just another avenue. Again, these are all scenarios you have to consider if you are Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson, because as much as we all want Trey Smith, he may not be available. And if he's not, you got to pivot elsewhere, whether it's a different free agent like Mekhi Becton or Kevin Zeitler or the draft or a combination, whatever the case may be. Jonah Jackson on the open market could be somewhat available if the Rams decide to move on, which they probably will because he's making starter money and he's not a starter for them right now. Who should be plan B at guard if no Trey Smith? Remember, you need 2 guards, so maybe you go cheap 1-year option like Kevin Zeitler, Brandon Scherf, and pair him with the Jonah Jackson. Maybe you sign Drew Dahlman in 1 guard and you draft another guard. We'll have to wait and see what the approach is. Give us your thoughts down in the comments below. All right, one more trade target to talk about. Jonathan Allen, who was reported earlier today. The Commanders are allowing Allen to seek a trade. He's got 1 year left on his deal. They can save over $16 million if they trade him. They drafted Johnny Newton last year. Still a good player, but, they might opt to go younger at the position. They still have Deron Payne under contract. It's a deep defensive tackle draft. So he's a name that's out there. Production has certainly dipped. He had an injury last year where he missed about half the season. I thought he played pretty well in the playoffs, though. He's still a good interior pass rusher. He's pretty bad against the run, though. So, I think if you bring him in, you kind of pick and choose his role as a pass rush specialist. Javon Dexter is probably still a starter in that scenario. Allen comes in on obvious passing downs. You move Dexter over to the 1 tech. That could certainly be a possibility, but we'll see. He's played with Montez Sweat, so you'd have that familiarity, obviously, as well with those guys playing together. Like I said, he could still rush the passer. He's just not a very good run defender. Now, maybe in a different scheme, he would at least get back to being serviceable there, but the last 2 seasons, he has not defended the run well at all. If you do trade for him, he carries a $15.8 million cap hit for next season, and then he's a free agent, so you could work on an extension, you could play it out. 15.8 isn't massive, but it's not nothing either. Like, that's high-level starter money. That's real money. So if the Bears bring him in, I would have to think they think he can be, at minimum, a major contributor on this defensive line. I would bet against it, and I probably would lean against it at that price tag, just given the fact that this defensive tackle class is pretty loaded. Don't get me wrong. You need more defensive tackle depth. You could argue you need 2 more guys in there, but I can find at least 1 in the draft, potentially 2, and probably a cheaper option in free agency that, yes, probably isn't as good as Jonathan Allen, but if you just need a depth help, you could find a guy at a much smaller price tag, I would think. So what say you? Would you trade a late-round pick for Allen? Because I think if you're the Commanders, you'd take, like a 6th-round pick, free up the cap, and just move on there. T for trade, yes, you would do that. P for pass, no, you wouldn't. I would lean against it. It's not. It would kind of be like the Keenan Allen move. Get a vet in here that could help you short-term. Probably not a long-term option. But just given the depth of that position in this draft, I would rather go that route. Okay, before we get out of here, Ashton Jeanty has a formal meeting with the Chicago Bears at some point this week at the NFL Combine. Obviously, players are starting to arrive over the next few days, so we'll continue to kind of monitor what players the Bears are set to meet with, but they already have a formal meeting scheduled with the Boise State running back, obviously the Heisman runner-up, and obviously a position that the Bears are going to be connected to. Jeanty would be an option at number 10 or maybe in a small trade down in round 1. There's a bunch of options that are going to be there in the second round with picks 39 and 41, and then some guys in round 3 at 72, and then some day 3 options. It's an excellent running back draft, and the Bears should meet with Ashton Jeanty because if they do load up in the trenches in free agency, that gives you more flexibility and options of what to do with your first-round pick, and maybe in those circumstances, taking Jeanty at 10 is within the realm of possibility. That's going to do it for Chicago Bears Now. Remember, subscribe. Go check out our 2 videos earlier today reacting to Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson's press conferences. The Johnson video actually has the full presser in the second half of the video, so be sure to check that out. My name is Harrison Graham. Unless there's breaking news, we will see you guys tomorrow. Bear down.